Bob from BBD, Bobby Broadcast, Delhi, reporting on this lovely Saturday. And I'm going to dive deep into, or not dive deep, just give a preliminary view of the American elections. That's headline news these days after what happened to Trump. But here, first thing we must get out of the way, which is a constant debate, is who is better? Who is going to be better, the Democrats or the Republicans? You had Subramaniam Swamy as usual going ahead because he's like a right-wing guy, thinking that Trump ran all over Biden and Biden was a wimp and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't behoove a gentleman like Subramaniam Swamy, but then he's a mad hatter anyway, right? However, we need to really analyze this perfectly. The Democrats and Republicans historically all have had high points with India, all have had low points with India, right? The Democrats had a high point with Kennedy. Unfortunately, subsequently after that, when Nehru decided to choose the path of the slippery path of non-alignment, we lost the plot as far as Kennedy was concerned, and then obviously he got assassinated, and the rest, as I say, is history. The major low points, as far as however, the PL-48 happened under the Democrats, which was the food aid that came to us during that desperate period of food shortage. However, the low periods, Clinton and his obnoxious behavior towards India after our nuclear test. That moral high ground that he tried to capture was something I thought not required. The other low point, Obama, we've given him all kinds of credit. However, he was, to my mind, the most wimpish, untethered foreign policy. He totally gave a huge swath of leeway to both China and to Pakistan, to huge detriment to India's national security, and also lost all the states in the South China Sea. It was actually his agenda for whatever he thought that he could build China up as one of these second poles that really led to this slippery slope for India under him. So Democrats, not so good. But Republicans had low points and high points. The lowest point, Nixon, if everybody remembers, Nixon, Kissinger, 1971, low point. Abusive language used by both against our Prime Minister. Terrible, tragic. On the other hand, the highest point was the nuclear deal. Let me just say something about the nuclear deal. Nuclear deal has actually given India the platform where all the subsequent prime ministers can only technically have force multipliers to India's standing globally. But without that nuclear deal, which the Republicans gave us, it would have almost been impossible to achieve. Of course, it all started with Vajpayee and his determination for the nuclear test. Now, so what's going to really happen, right? The Democrats, when you have the pluses and minuses, Democrats are going to be soft on trade and better on immigration. Hard on the democratic credentials like the NCNA, Kashmir, CAA, the amnesty. The Republicans will be absolutely reverse. Will be tough on trade, tough on H1, but give us a huge leeway on all the other softer aspects of democracy. What's good for us, we don't know. But however, at the end of the day, it will be the personalities of both the individuals that will drive their policy towards India, right? And as Sumit Ganguly writes, Trump really has, despite all the love that our PM has showered on him, he's done things that really, he always brings up India as the bad guy, whether it's in tariffs, always points towards India when he compares against COVID, and he says he has placed tariffs on a range of Indian goods through an executive order. He has frozen H1B and H4 until the end of the year, and he has harangued India to reduce tariffs on trivial American exports such as Harley-Davidsons. Nor for that matter has his statements on critical sensitive issues of Indian foreign and security policy displayed any adroitness. His willingness to start a trade war with India and his ham-handed attempts to burnish his credentials as a negotiator, aid Trump has also shrunk the scope of his US-India partnership. Then, however, under Trump, watch the focus has been primarily on the security arena, with two issues being accorded foremost importance: weapons sales to New Delhi and prodding it to serve as counterweight to PRC. A Biden foreign policy, in marked contrast to Trump's parochial approach, would restore a multifaceted relationship with India, and that may be important. It is true that Biden and Harris have expressed concerns about the state of human rights in Kashmir, yet to pin their likely foreign policy posture towards India on their views about a single, although fraught issue, overlooks much evidence that offers hope for a rejuvenated and more cordial relationship. What's happening in the elections? First thing is, as you know, big blow to campaign in crucial final stretch. Everything is up in the air. Everything is absolutely up in the air. Whether it's debates, they're probably going to get cancelled. Or what's going to happen with the RG's replacement? What's going to happen to campaigning? Has it opened the door for Biden? We don't know. However, after the debate, Biden lead stays at 9 points after debate, and that's what's important. Now, what I want to tell you, take you back a little bit, right? Nobody knows this. 1960, Kennedy picked Johnson from the Deep South so that he could get the vote from the Deep South, and he succeeded. Nixon lost narrowly. 1963, assassination of JFK. Lyndon Johnson took over from the Deep South. There was a lot of chest thumping for the conservatives of the South. But here, what I want to point: the conservatives of the South, ladies and gentlemen, were always Democrats. Always Democrats. But when Lyndon Johnson in 1965 put his shoulder and full weight behind the civil rights movement and supported it, he lost the South. In 1968, Nixon, seeing this opportunity and an opening, converted the entire conservative South that was Democrats, who actually supported slavery and segregation, into Republican states. The last state in the South that fell to the Republicans from the South was Texas. Actually, in the 80s, in fact, when I went there in the 80s, it was still, the governor was Ann Richardson, who was a Democrat. So, at this point in time, again, when this party has become the party of Republicans, has become the Trumpian party, is this offering opportunity to transition some of those guys who had moved from the Democratic Party, the Conservatives, to the Republican Party, move back to the Democrats? Maybe because you have McCain's wife now supporting Biden. You have Kasich, who was the governor of Ohio, supporting Kasich, and was the presidential nominee. Was in the presidential race for the Republicans the last time. Interesting time, but must remember that Deep South segregation was all Democrats pre-68. Interesting to note. Now a little bit on telling you about the electoral votes, right? There are 538 electoral votes. It's all about electoral votes, right? Most of the states have winner take it all, right? Last election, 227 electoral votes went to Hillary Clinton. 304 went to Trump. It's the estimation this year that the 227 electoral votes with Clinton will not move, will stay with Biden. So he starts at 237. However, the swing states, which had fallen, which like if when everybody went to sleep in the United States and woke up and found that Trump had won, these are the swing states now that are going to be critical for Biden. And just look at what is happening here. The swing states are currently Arizona, right? That's 11 electoral votes, 64.6% Biden chance to win. Florida, close call, 29 electoral votes. Biden's chance of winning is 57.6%. Michigan, 16 electoral votes, and guess what? 85% Biden's chance to win. Then you have Ohio. Here this is even Steven, 18 votes, but it could go also with the way things are shifting recently, it could go with Biden. Pennsylvania, critical, 20 electoral votes and 73.5% chance for Biden to win. And then you have Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes, which went to Trump the last time, and Biden has 78.2% chance to win. Ladies and gentlemen, just add these up. If he just picks up, say, 10 from Wisconsin, picks up 16 in Michigan, that's 26, and he picks up as he's expected to 10 Wisconsin and 20 Pennsylvania, he's over the hump. Your guess is as good as mine. More on this election campaign later. As I can see, Joe Biden is running after, there's an article, wooing Sikhs in the United States, and the other place, the Democrats are really pulling ahead and giving nightmares to the GOP is in what I call the Democrats' male voting numbers alarm GOP. After the break.
We believe in natural herbs and homemade remedies because the body deserves only purity. Think of natural products. Think of Sada Jeevan.
Fast business news. First, Indian Express, mango special to banana special. Kisan Rail gets on track. Phenomenal for both the railways, like I said, and the farmer. Then we have eyes on investors. Government plans to list LIC abroad. Yesterday I said the maximum money floating around in the United States. If you want to grab a chunk of it, that's the way to go. Then I said Reliance is like a honeypot. Another PIF ADIA may invest 1 billion in RIL's fiber INV IT unit. Elon Musk, Tesla's Indian plans in tweet, aspiring important because he brings with it the technology for batteries. Then you have something called India likely to produce next-gen fighter jets in a private sector-led JV. Please let that private sector be an Indian company like Adani, Ambani or somebody like that. This has to be a joint venture between existing platform. There are many joint ventures working on the 5th gen. India should join one. There's in Britain, there's one in Japan, because you need the supply chain. India, we must acknowledge, does not have the bandwidth, technology or the supply chain to make a 5th gen aircraft. And the Prime Minister says help make India self-reliant. PMA to Desi scientists. What are the Desi scientists? What is this Atmanirbhar? What is this? Science is science, folks. It's science. There's another article, G4S dismisses 3 billion hostile takeover bid by Gardawar. Is there an Indian player who can get into this? Great spot, G4S. Then you have things getting bad. Fears of 1.8 million jobs losses at 11% of workers still on furlough. UK, and then from San Francisco, vacancy rate for SF offices soars past 14%. Bad news economically globally. There is no V-shaped recovery. There are no green shoots.